Hi, I'm Heather.
And I'm Haley.
And we're the Dunnit sisters. This episode is on the disappearance of Justin Siwek. We interviewed his aunt, and she told us about his case.
So we have him on video checking into the hotel at 7:30 in the morning with Justin.
Okay.
With Justin. After they got there, the hotel room wasn't ready. She had done it online from Justin's phone with his credit card. The hotel room wasn't ready, so they said they would call them back. So they all three left, went to Miriam, to his aunt's house, and another person's house in Turner, and then they got the phone call that the hotel room was ready. Michael stayed in Turner. He was targeted from Diamond because this was her job.
Her job was to
Find guys, look good, be on Facebook, get guys that seem like they would maybe have a little bit of money to come and meet these girls, and then they would rob them and everybody would go on their way. The guy that they picked up that night after Diamond drove the car, Michael, basically told me it was supposed to look like the boyfriend mad. So they're in a hotel room. They set him up in a hotel room. Then he comes in and acts jealous and robs the guy of whatever. And then the guy's so upset or whatever that it just let it go. But Michael did not stay at the hotel. When they checked back in after they confirmed their check-in, he had decided that he did not want to play a part in this. He liked Justin. He thought it was whatever was going on was not right. He didn't even know the whole gist of it. So he left and went home. That's what he said. Diamond and Justin went to the hotel. They would have checked in about 9:30, 10 o'clock. That's when the phone calls started to our family. Justin called his mom, his dad, my daughter, then me and my son. And I was at work here, and that was at 10:30. And I spoke to him again at 11 o'clock when I got home, and he said, "Aunt Mindy, you need to come and get me." I could hear Diamond in the background of the conversation yelling. Justin had just gotten out of the shower. And his key fob was missing, his wallet was missing. She had already taken all that stuff.
while he was in the shower.
And he basically said, I need you to come and get me. And I said, okay, well, I'll be right there. I was leaving here to come to my house. When I got to my house, he called again. And she was yelling so loudly on the phone with obscenities that I couldn't even hold the phone to my head. I gave it to my son to talk to Justin and her, and she started in on my son about the gangs. I will make you pay. He's gonna give me what I deserve, blah, blah, blah. It's been set up. This is gonna happen. She started calling people. So while we're on the phone with Justin, and we could hear her on the other line of her phone calling people saying, come get this NIGAR, whatever you want to call it. He needs to pay. He needs to go down. And she's making phone call after phone call. And my son says to Justin, get the hell out of there. Go up to the front desk. Go across the street to Quick Trip. Just get the hell out of there. We'll be there as soon as we can. And whatever happened in those few minutes between them, he left. He started walking. He walks up the hotel, the street by Quick Trip. There's a camera there. The front desk person saw him. I talked to them, and in that amount of time, there's two people that show up. So 10 minutes, there's two people that show up from a different hotel at her request, and then Sean Bass, who was already at the hotel, is in a car with another person, and then they come to the street, the two cars, and they get him. I've been told that they either shot him in the neck with something, or they choked him out to get him in the car. But there were two cars and there were two people in each car. And that there was blood when the first car was returned to the girl that they used it from. There was blood in the front seat. And his clothes were still in there, in the car. So he was taken from that location to another location where he was, according to the two girls that called my sister to let her know what had happened because they felt terrible. He was beat and then shot in the face. And then when he was dead, they put him in the shower or the bathtub for 12 hours before they could move his body. And there were at least 6 people that witnessed this that were in that hotel room.
So why do you think they targeted Justin?
What most people believe is that he was targeted mainly because he was pushing still 8 years later for who had killed my nephew, my first nephew, Cody Michael, who was found 8 years ago, almost to the day that Justin was dead, on a bank in Sugar Creek, 6 feet under in the mud, dead. The funny thing is that the lead detective on Justin's case is the same person that was the officer 8 years ago that found the body of Cody and reported it.
Is Cody's homicide unsolved, or is that solved?
Yes.
That's unsolved also.
Yes. And Justin was still pushing and searching, and as we all were, because we didn't know 8 years ago what exactly happened. We were told nothing. We were told that it was just an accident. Maybe he killed himself, maybe this, maybe that, although the autopsy showed different. And we always knew that there was a dark car that pulled up and got him, and that he went somewhere. His body was beat to unrecognizable when they found him.
What was the cause of death for Cody?
They said the methamphetamine, and they also said drowning.
Yeah, drowning.
But there was no water in his lungs, and he was 6 foot under in the mud when they found him. On the autopsy, there was a needle mark on his neck. He was missing fingers that were cut off exactly.
Sure.
Okay, not fish eaten. He was missing an eyeball. And so they cremated him, and we never saw him. We never saw a picture. And we let it go. That was it. Because we didn't know. We actually did not understand what was happening. So they did try to play it as something else, and we knew it wasn't that. We knew it wasn't that, mostly also because of him, and also because of the 2 people that he was at the river with. A girl and a guy that he knew well, that he left a party with, that said there was a black car that looked like an undercover car that pulled up for him, that he went into, and there was a guy in the back seat and there was a guy in the front. And that was the last time he was seen. So we fast forward 8 years later, a week before Justin dies, he says to my son and I on my porch at my house that he has found out everything. He has figured it all out. It's all going to be, in a week, we're all going to know everything.
About Cody's death.
About Cody's death. And then a week later, he's dead. Pretty much the same way. Except Justin tried to leave. So we have him leaving. But Cody was at a hotel in Independence with a girl that was with this same group, one of their girls, which is what they do. They pull people in and they make it look however they want to make it look. That's what they do. The only thing that I have to connect is the fact that there was an officer at that time that found the body accidentally. And then 8 years later, he is the lead detective on my next nephew that was searching for his brother's killers that now is dead. It was pre-done. This wasn't a regular, meeting somebody on the internet, getting some money. This was pre-done. They'd been grooming this situation for 2 months, according to his Facebook. Why? I think that Sean was the person that killed Cody for the detective out in Independence 8 years ago. He was working for them that long as a CI, and I have information that says that. He left a loose end. And now that that officer was a detective in Kansas City, it needed to be done. It needed to be. And Justin was onto something. When he said to us, in a week's time, we're going to know everything, that was the truth. That's what he really believed. And they came after him for it. So I think this is only the tip of the iceberg of what Kansas City police officers have been doing for a long time. I don't know what they're capable of. I know that they're capable of not giving family information by saying, we muddied up things. By asking questions, by doing your job, I muddied things up. How about the fact is that you have been a bad officer and a bad person for how long, and so you don't want people looking into it. How about that? You're used to people just being stupid and just sitting back and saying, oh, okay. We'll never find their body. It's okay. The police are so good to us. Bullshit. They're not good to anybody. Everything that was done that day was done bad. There was a purpose for it. Everything was a purpose. And I believe that to this day. Because I've talked to him personally. And I know he's scummy as hell. And I'm sure it's all going to come out. It won't come out from us doing anything because we are nothing. It's not just them either. Because I've actually talked to officers in Johnson County that we thought were going to help us, because the thing actually started in Johnson County because they took his car from there. She drove his car from Johnson County. So when we brought the car back, the officers in Johnson County thought that they could kind of control the situation because it started there. Mm-hmm. But then as soon as they found out who the detective was in Kansas City that was working it and that he was with ATF, and this officer was with the ATF because they tried to get him on the gun charges that night because of the pictures with the guns. As soon as this officer that was so hell-bent on helping me, this detective or ATF officer, as soon as he found out who that was in Kansas City, that was it. He wouldn't return any of my phone calls after that. So that's what I'm saying about, I'm not sure what can be done. Because it seems to me like it's all integrated. You talk to enough people about this, and this, and they kind of all know everything. And they know each other, and they just, it's like a man's club or whatever. The FBI doesn't help. The FBI's been here. They've looked at everything. The girls that got in touch with my sister originally were two girls that were with Sean, and they basically said, we're fearful for our lives, we shouldn't say this, whatever, but we were in the hotel room when he was killed, and this is what happened, and he spent, after he was killed, they spent 12 hours leaving him in the bathtub before they decided what to do with his body. We know everything that happened. We know who all was there. And pretty much the 5 people that were in the room that actually did the physical part of it. And the physical part of taking him from the street that the Quick Trip recorded. I believe it was a hotel room. I think when they were leaving the hotel, days in, tracked it, that they went into the cul-de-sac of that house because they knew that house because one of the people's parents lived there or somebody, and that's where they had gotten rid of the SIM card of the phone. It's probably still there in the woods. I've been trying to get a tracking dog to maybe scent-wise or something find that. And then they left that area and went right over to State Avenue to where they had hotel rooms also at that hotel, and that's where it was done. The girl couldn't remember the hotel, but she did remember that there was dark red carpeting and that the drapes were dark bluish red. And I've been to both hotels, and I know that that hotel on State Avenue, that's what it looks like. And that she said there were a lot of girls outside when they pulled up. Well, there's a lot of prostitutes that work out of that hotel. That's why I think we never found anything at Days Inn, although there was evidence of stuff that had happened. They never looked in the right rooms. They never looked in any room. When we called the police, they never came to the hotel and looked in any rooms. They never looked in the trash for the broken things that we said. They never looked at his car that was there with the windows broken out. They never took any kind of prints. They did nothing except hand my sister a paper that said, "We'll get back to you in 2 weeks." Even though we knew that he had been taken like that. In fact, those two police officers that took the report were the two police officers that on the video, you see them leaving Quick Trip 30 seconds before the other cars pull up to get him. They both leave at the same time from that Quick Trip. And that one officer has been known to be very shisty and dirty and be in cahoots with all of these people. Kickbacks, the hotel gets kickbacks. It's all a very vicious cycle of who's paid and what happens. So the only thing that we don't know exactly is who pulled the trigger and who cut the body and disposed of it. But the story's never changed. The 6 people that were there that day have always been the 6 people. They've all told on each other. We've all known that exactly what happened. But the name of the person that actually did this or this has went around the circle of the 6 people.
You know what? Fuck you and your baby mama. I know you right it, nigga. Fuck you, nigga. Everything you're
That's
about,
Diamond.
bitch ass nigga.
To Michael.
You weird ass bitch. I was never in the hotel room if you don't remember, you dumb bitch. What the fuck could I rat on? Do you not remember that day? I didn't go with you guys, dumb bitch. Talking about a rat. Watch your motherfucking mouth.
So they're obviously mad at each other because they're ratting on each other, they think.
So it's like a phone call or what?
Those are phone calls. Those are messages back between her and Michael.
And I'm sorry, how did you get them? I was just curious. So you don't mind me asking.
They, his baby's mama sent them to me.
Oh, really?
So the police have 2 people in custody, or at least stowed away somewhere. One person that actually saw Justin half decomposed in a basement. Then there was a raid on the house where this kid saw the body, and they recovered 27 empty bottles of bleach from the residency and Justin's DNA. And it was 3 days after I had gotten a tip that Justin was buried at a certain part of the river off of Kansas Avenue, where the police came out and there were 7 officers there, and they started combing the area after the tip I got. And then they got a phone call from this lead detective that had been working on it, that is a shisty piece of crap, and I don't know what he said to them, but they wrapped it up right afterwards. And then the next morning, my husband went to work. He works in that area. And they had Kansas Avenue shut down for 3 hours. And they had huge holes dug on the bank of the river. And divers there. But middle of the night, one of our friends went by there, and he's a really good guy. He owns a tattoo place. He grew up in this area. In that area, he knows a lot of these people. He said in the middle of the night there were 2 holes there, and that and then we have a week later, they're at a party or at a house, and a kid smells something and was told, oh, that's the body downstairs. And it's half decomposed. And he's taken to see the body, and it's half decomposed. And he says that to the officers. It looked half decomposed. I don't know what would make a body half decomposed unless it was hitting the water, half of it, and not, I don't know. But I do know this, that there'd be no way that for 8 months, body in a basement and no one would know about it or say something about it if there's a lot of people in and out there. But we have this situation where I think a body was dug up, have to be moved because the lead detective called his little cronies and said, they're on to us, you got to move the body. And then a week later, somebody sees it at a house. I mean, I'm not trying to act like this is some kind of movie, but it makes sense to me. And so after the kid admits to seeing the body and they investigate him and all of these things, and another person conglomerates it and says it, and they're going to move him to protective custody, it goes dry. The kids are gone. The kid is gone. The other kid is gone. Nobody knows where they are, and nothing is still being done. When the information is right underneath their nose, the information is this detective. The information is the fact that they have covered it up. Now, 8 months later, they're going to act like it's a big deal, and they're going to shake a few people up. Doesn't make sense to me. So they kicked in the door, they got these search warrants, they found the bleach, they found his DNA, and then nothing after that.
Your phone about to die.
Except that I got a picture from somebody on Facebook. It was one of the original people that had broken into his car, that admitted breaking into his car. He sent me a picture of a saw.
What is this?
And then we heard a week later that that's what they were doing, was cutting his body up to make sure that it could go away, and that they were cementing his body parts into tubs and throwing them in different spots in the river. That was the last thing that we heard. That was the day of Christmas when we told my sister finally what we had heard, and she died that day. So this is what is really difficult for me to sit and talk about, is because between all the stuff that we have found out and known, we know everything. So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, the fact that they continue to do this to other people after and people before, and we have that justified through people that we know that did this for them, for their group, that is what they call gang-related activity. It's under the RICO Act of 1980, and it doesn't really matter who exactly pulled the trigger, who exactly did this. There are 6 people that were involved in this. They took this person with the extreme measures of doing what they had done before, rob, kill, destroy, at whatever means, and they should all be tried exactly the same way. Someday, hopefully, maybe a body part or something will come up.
My sister. My sister.
I just didn't want to wait a long time. I don't want to be an old lady I already feel old. This whole last year has made me, but my sister and I talked about it that day on Christmas. And she said to me, she said, Mindy, please promise me that you will never give up, because I know that you will figure this out. And I said, of course. Now, did I know that that was going to be the last day that she was going to be alive? No. But I did say that, and I did promise that we would, that I would find out exactly what happened. That there would be some rest for us somewhere.
Right.
So I just don't want it to be very much longer. I want it to end for us.
Right.
And we might not know exactly what happened that day. But if we could find him and we could put him to rest somewhere where his son can look at him and know that that's where he's at, that would mean everything to us. I was the first person that held him when he came into this world. My sister was only 16 years old when she had him. And they left her in labor for like 2 days. She was huge, and they finally had to do an emergency C-section on her. And so they're getting her ready. They're pulling her into the surgery. I'm standing there. They got my brother-in-law in the surgery. And I hear this big thump, and he's fainted. And they're all working on him and stuff. And then I hear the baby. And I'm standing right outside the door. And the nurse comes out. And he's all wrapped up. And I look at him, and she says, he could be your baby. He looks just like you. And all of our kids look alike. So, and my grandkids. And I hold him, and she told me that his umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck 4 times. And that if they would have waited even a minute more, he would have been gone. And I held him so tight. And we always held him so tight. So for us to have this happen has been the worst thing, because there was nothing we could do. And there still is nothing we can do except to wait. I mean, how many more people need to be killed and hurt for this to be important to someone? And I'm not saying it's my job, but it's definitely something that I am going to not stop about. Because if Justin had to die, he had to die for something. That's how I feel. If it's to save somebody else, if it's to get this out in the public, I don't know. If it's just to get these people to where they don't think they can do this anymore to people, that's what I want. Because they have basically told me on the phone, the leader of this gang said, nobody gives a fuck. Well, I can guarantee you they do. Because I'm one of them. And I'm not the kind of person that you want to mess with about somebody I love.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that this could have all been solved probably the second day that he went missing, if they would have done their job. If they would have went into the hotel, if they would have brought dogs out and tracked his scent, if they would have went to the phone, if they would have went to the other hotel, if they would have went into the hotel room that Sean Bass had, any of those things, fingerprinted the car, anything, they could have collaborated this whole entire thing like the first 48 hours to where you basically, you make these people start talking. You don't wait 3 months, 6 months, whatever. You don't wait until Jay-Z's legal team is here in town and making things hard for Kansas City police officers so that you look bad. You don't wait that long to make it look like you're doing something, because time is of the essence and they don't care. There's bodies that are being dropped off in alleys that they know weren't killed there. A year ago, a girl was killed somewhere, then they dropped her body in an alley. This just happened. Same scenario. A week after Justin went missing, they found an 18-year-old killed in the other hotel, the hotel that I believe they took him to. No other things there, just this body. Robbed, killed, and dead. Nobody knows where that person was, who checked him in, who did this, who did that. That's not true. People know. The police know. That's the sad thing. The police know. Because they're all part of it. And they're acting like it just doesn't mean anything to people because they're drug addicts, because nobody cares about them, because their families don't care. They're low-class people, something. No. Somebody cared about Justin. We care about Justin. And I'm not one of those kind of people that's just going to roll over and be okay with this. I mean, I've been threatened. People have called me. The detectives have told our family, stop. Stop it. You don't know what you're doing. It's bullshit. You don't know what you're doing. You're not even a detective. What are you detecting? I mean, seriously. You're not doing your job. Because this should not be happening to anybody. I don't care who their family is. I don't care if it's a prostitute that they haven't seen in 20 years. Their family loves them. We need to know what happened to our family members. We need to know where their bodies are. And I think that they know. And I think that they hope that people forget. And I'm not going to let that happen. Justin was the most caring, awesome person. He had something inside of him that was sad sometimes. But he was the best father, and he was the best nephew, and the best son. He was my sister's best friend. He had this laugh that generated, and it was kind of a kooky laugh. And when he did it, but he could make anything feel okay for anybody, and he was a hard worker, and he loved life, and he loved his son. And he didn't think that when he left at 5 o'clock that morning in his car that he was never coming back. Because this girl did what she was supposed to do for this gang.
Justin disappeared on Father's Day weekend of last year. Justin had met Diamond on Facebook, and he went out with her and Michael, who was a friend of Diamond's. They ended up getting a hotel room, and according to Michael, he ended up backing out of the robbery arrangement. When Justin ended up taking a shower, and when he got out of the shower, he realized that Diamond had robbed him, and so he called his Aunt Mindy. And while on the phone with Mindy, Diamond became belligerent, and Mindy's son told Justin he needed to get out of there. While Justin was outside walking away, 2 cars pull up, and he is abducted. Now, regardless of the motive of Justin's abduction, whether it's because he was investigating his brother's death or the robbery gone wrong, more witnesses need to come forward. Some have already talked to Mindy, but the car that Justin was taken in needs to be processed. There was blood found in it. So that needs, someone needs to come forward and have the car processed. The police released a statement that said, "It is our belief that there are people within our community who have information regarding Justin's disappearance. And unless or until they share that information, we will all continue to wait." There's no waiting. Police work 101 is investigating and interviewing people, and I don't understand why they're not doing that at all.
Like Diamond, who is locked up on a different case. She hasn't been questioned, even though she was one of the last people to see him.
Right. They haven't investigated. No, they haven't questioned her.
Or processed his car as well.
or the hotel room that he was in. No. All of the information that they have is because Mindy went out there and did all the work, like a lot of the other cases that we have been doing. If you have any information that you would like to share about this case, you can email us at whodunnitsisters@gmail. You can message the Facebook page of Find Justin Siwek, or you can message Mindy. If you have any other cases that you would like for us to do, you can email us or leave it in the comments. What's our next case on?
It's going to be on the murder of Xavier Hall.
Okay. Please subscribe to our channel and hit like and share. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.